Hello, I'm Niveka Balakrishnan. My student ID number is 1624444 and I am the server of XMLRPC and RMI. In XMLRPC, this is the login frame. There are password field and text field which I created to give a username and password. And this is the main class. Here first the frame will load, and here are some JFrame properties, including labels, login button, alignments. When the login button click, log function will be called. Server has to give the username and password. From this method, it will check whether the username and password correct. And when the passwords are correct, login I function will be called, which is include creating the object of main and GUI in. From main GUI in function will be called. If is it correct, login I function will be called. If it's wrong, pop-up message saying invalid username or password, and clear the field by calling clear the function. This is the main GUI of XMLRPC. This class extends JFrame and implements action listeners. This JFrame includes labels, scroll pan, button for each function to run, alignments also given according to the design. And when username and passwords are correct, login this function in will run. It's creating an object of main GUI frame and make it to visible, and server machines object will also created, and passing the object of main GUI try catch block start in the try, first creating web server object by passing port number 1525 and creating another object of server machine, then passing the recycling server as a key, and this service object finally start. If it's failed, run about try block catch will print the exception. There are buttons in the frame. Logout, change value, engineering visit, build history, item list. These are buttons. Redirect to their interface. There are scroll pans, which used to display at item list online PC and Bill's mostly visited machine mostly added item. In the server machine, this is the server machine class. First, we are initializing the object and creating a vector in this display log method used to display the each item value which added in the recycle machine. When running that method, display log which return boolean. It will take client IP, client PC name, item name, time as parameters. Net creating date DFT object of date time formatter and printing the item name. Passing the item to maximum item function. From here, start if-else statement. In here, it will check whether item names are equal to the item name available and creating a string object MSG and store the client IP, PC name, current item added, time, and passing the value to add item DB. And set item, added item to print in the main GUI and printing detailed message in the console. Other else statements also like to check their other items names running the same process. If the statements OK will return true. Next is display receipt method. Parameters are client IP, name, number of individual item, bill number, bill time. And these details will be get from the client. Assigning these values into string variable display and passing into add item print DB function, then printing the display into console, then printing the display and passing the value to print in the setText method which is in the main GUI and returning true. This online log method which return boolean, and this method taking client IP, PC name, time as parameter, assigning these values a string online in. passing the client IP to maximum function. And to print the details in the main GUI, passing the string by calling setOnlineClient method and returning true. Validate back, getting a value and calling the function getPaperPacks, which is in the item value Java. This is the item value Java, which has getters and setters. And assigning the value into an integer variable d, and print the value and returning the d value. These are the functions which is printing the values passed in the server machine. These text area 2, text area 1, text area 2 in the main GUI. Change values. First, creating panel, text field, combo box, labels and button. IPS is a static function which at the request IP address to combo box. And main method will be running the frame and set visible by creating object change value Java. These are initializing bounds, font, size, each button and labels. When the submit button clicked, it will get the text which server given in the text field, can value, bottle value, back, create value. These values will be passed to set methods which are in item value Java, and if we set success and pop-up message, values successfully updated. And below, these are to initialize the labels and adding it to panels. Button is to clear the all text field, setting a blank text to it. Machine lock Java. This is an abstract method which extends machine info Java. Machine info. This is an abstract method. This includes 3 string variables as IP, PC name and time. Next, Shabir will explain the connection.
I'm Shabir. My student PIN number is 1624431. There are methods to store the values which are passing from the for method: display log, display line log, and display receipt. This added item DB function is taking the client IP, client PC, item and the time as parameters. Next, creating the connection to the database, creating an object of database connection manager and connection. In database connection manager, this includes the source URL and port number to database to make connection with database called master, and if the connection success, print success, connection success. If it is not, it will be print unable to load driver. Then the connection method calling by passing the source URL and login details to the server and returning the connection DB count. In this add item DB method, create an object of DB connection manager, and in the try catch block, preparing statement to execute the SQL query and setting the IP, PC name, IP, item, time into it and execute. If the above try block is failed to run, exception cannot insert items to database will be printed in the console. Same as the above method, added item DB. In this added item print DB, getting the client IP, client PC name, individual items count, bill amount and time. The display receipt method. In display engineer, this method is used to print details in the engineer visit.java, passing the values by calling the method setUser and storing the details into database. Display engineer activities. When engineer resets the machine, monitor the item, it will also display into the engineer activity. Same as the above method, creating an object of database connection manager, checking the connection and passing the value, checking the connection and passing the values to the database and return true. If it is failed to add into database, print message cannot insert item to database in the console. The center values method will be called when client requests value to add item. If the client clicks the button request value button, this method pop up a message dialog saying please enter item values for, which will be mentioning the requested IP, client's IP address. This IP will be passed to the method IPS. This CV is an object of changeValues.java. ChangeValues.java has method calling IPS. In the main GUI, we'll be mentioning the most visited machine and mostly added item. For that, these methods maximum and maximum item will be called by above display log and online log. These methods get the IP addresses and store into array list. Passing the array list into a hash set and running a for loop to find the maximum running IP and passing the number of times and the IP address to set max method, which is in the main GUI to display. Same as the above function, will be finding the most added items. Item list Java is used to get the item details which are added to the database and printing it in a JFrame in table format. First, creating database connection, initializing the panel and combo box. The main method will be creating an object of item list Java and set visible the frame. Here setting the bounds of the frame, giving the size, fonts for text and adding scroll pen, table, when button is pressed, it will call the function load list. This function is used to load all the details which are in the database to the table. Load list, first check the connection and it will in the try catch block selecting all from the item list RPC, order it by time, the descending order, assigning the query into a string variable query and preparing a statement to run the query and setting it the dataset into result set and adding it to a table and counting the table rows and printing the count in the interface. If not, exception will be print cannot load item list to the table. And in the item listener, which is added to the combo box, this will load the details according to the selected IPs in the combo box. If one IP is selected, it will pass to the database to get all the details which are related to the particular IP and set module to the table and again counting the details in the table and set to the text in a frame. If not, exception will be printed in console. Load IP is used to load the IP addresses which are in the database to combo box. It's like this process in the item list Java. Engineer visited Java. This also have the same process in getting the details from the database and listing into a table. And getting the IP addresses from the engineer RPC and loading it to a combo box. When the combo box state changes, again get the particular IP address and get the related IP's details. This is the client GUI. I have edited and modified my earlier coding which I have used in assignment 1. When the GUI runs, first it will ask for the server's IP address and it will assign the IP address to Java variable IP add. Then creating an object myGUI of recycling GUI.java and make it visible and getting the current time. In the try block, creating a vector and storing the machine's IP, name and time. And creating an object of XMLRPC client and giving the IP address and port number. In server object, passing the parameters to server by calling the display online log. If the client is not connected, give an exception error message dialog saying server is not connected and print the exception in the console. This recycling GUI.java extend JFrame implements action listener and printer interface. Initialize the object of customer panel, deposit item receiver, receipt basis, and summary.java. These are the buttons and labels created and added in the GUI. Here are the panel bounds and size. I'll be giving the pictures to particular buttons by set icon. This is the path to the image. When the client presses the button to add item, it will pop up a message saying request value from server. When client is click the request button, all the buttons will be enabled. And by creating a vector object parameters, IP address will be added to the vector, and creating the connection to the server and passing the parameters to enter values function which is in the server and getting the result. When refresh button is pressed, all the buttons will be enabled. In action performed, when client press scan button, after requesting the value, the details will be passed to the function specify item, which is in the deposit item receiver. And if it is slot number 1, it will create an object of can.java to get the value. In can.java, getValue function will be executed. In try block, getting the IP address and pass to string variable IP1 and adding the weight and name to a different vectors and creating an object of XMLRPC to pass the parameter, and here I'll be passing the parameters by calling the function validateCan and setIP, which is in the server. When the server executes, the function will be getting the outputs and return values and storing it to a result and converting the result into string and integer. If the return IP is equal to the client IP value, if the server updated the value for the particular machine, and this will return the value. Rewriting GUI, after getting the value, text can added will be set to the panel and pass one to classify item, which is the summary, which is in the summary.java. If it is 1, we will send this string this process which I have done in the can, also I have done in the bag and crate and pet bag. When the client presses the receive button from the receive basis.java, all the data will be sent to the server display receipt. It includes IP, name, count of individual items, summary and date. In engineer log.java, when the frame runs, it will asking for the username and password. If it is correct, creating an object of engineer main.java, the set visible, and passing a string engineer login to the server using display engineer. And if the client presses each button in the engineer main, it will be sent to the server as a string value passing in a parameter. An engineer can view the client activity and reset the machine. When you press the monitoring item, it will create an object of client report and set visible the interface and assign the string engineer monitor item will be stored into a str string, and in try block will be creating a parameters and adding IP address and the string and time and passing it to a display engineer to display the engineer's activity in the server. In client report, we can view the client's activity. We should be getting from the summary.java. We'll be printing it in a text area.
In the RMI, as explained in the XMLRPC interface are same, only the connection part and passing value method only different. Main Java, when running the main function after login, are okay. In try catch block, first create an object of RMI implement Java. This RMI implement Java extend unicast remote object implement recycling RMI, and these are the function throw a remote exception, return the values generated method stubs. This interface extends from Java RMI remote interface recycling RMI Java. The each override method are similar to RMI implements Java method. And as in the XMLRPC, same other functions in the server machine Java. To store the details in the database, Client part will be explained by Shabi.
This is an recycling RMI.java. This is an interface which extends framework, and it has abstract methods which is similar to servers recycling RMI.java. When the client is running, first in the main method, it will be asking the server's IP address, like in the XMLRPC, creating an object of servers, and in the try catch, getting the IP address, PC name, and time, initialized into a string variable, and creating an object of recycle RMI.java, and passing the string values by calling display client doc method. And if it is not success, error message dialog will be pop up by like this. I have passing the values from client to server. Recycling RMI.java interface is the most important, which helps to connect with the server. It's the same way to get a value from the server, can.java. When the client wants to send details for that, using the functions in recycling RMI.java. By calling these functions, I'll be sending the values from client to server.